It's 87 versus 97, and I'm excited to see all the hockey action. I'm also excited that you can't see the stain on my shirt. Hey, Joel Palin, and welcome to another Hockey Talk Show Quick Hit. Live shows coming soon. I'm going to stop saying that at the beginning of the program. Whether you're listening on Stitcher, iTunes, the TuneIn Radio app, or Podbean, or if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, thanks for being a part of the Hockey Talk Show. We have a super quick hit for you tonight. Going to be going over a bunch of things. 87 versus 97. Anti Niemi, of course, Zach Parise and what's going on in Minnesota. We're going to be covering it all. But off the top, I'm a father of two. Some of you guys may know that already. Some of you may not, but I'm a father of two. And something they don't tell you about when you become a father is that about 70 or 80% of the time, you're going to be leaving the house with stained clothing. A lot of the times it's going to be spit up, especially when they're younger. I got a 3-4 month old. A lot of the times it's going to be ketchup, especially when they're 2, which is what my little guy is. So I do have quite the stain on my t-shirt, and thank goodness that I think the graphics are kind of covering it. You can't really see it. At least I don't think you can see it. All right, so let's get into it. 97 versus 87. That's going to be the big matchup for the National Hockey League tonight. Now, you may already be watching this or listening to this via podcast after this game has passed. So just know that at the time that we tape the show tonight, it is before the Edmonton Oilers take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Great article up there at NHL.com. I strongly suggest you guys check it out. They do a phenomenal job. Nicholas Kutsaninka, sorry, buddy. You do a better job writing for NHL.com than I do saying your name. Sorry about that. But I think there's a couple interesting things going into the game here. Keep in mind, these guys have only met twice in their careers so far. Both of those games went to Sid and the Pittsburgh Penguins. By the way, just as a quick side note, I'm super happy with the growth of the Hockey Talk Show. Both of the podcasts have taken off super fast, way faster than I thought it was going to. And we're getting to so many more followers than we're growing really faster than I thought we were. And we got to the first person calling me an idiot faster than I thought we were going to do. But I kind of knew that was going to happen because I took on Sid in yesterday's video. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it up on YouTube, and I'll drop it in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. If you're listening on podcast, thank you. Go to hockeytalkshow.com to see all the links. I took a little umbrage with Sid yesterday, and I tried to clarify all my comments in saying, I know he's the greatest player in the game. I know he's an ambassador of the game. I know all great players complain. Gretzky does it. Jonathan Toews doesn't really do it all that much. But, John Tavares, who I love so much, John Tavares does it. Rick, you name every team's quote-unquote star. They're all complaining come game time. But I thought it was a little ridiculous that he was complaining and got a 10-minute misconduct a minute and a half into the game. That's not like Sid, and I thought he acted like a baby in that one particular game, and he should have been called out for it. Does he complain more than I'd like? Yes, I did say that. I stand behind that. I'd like him to be better as far as that goes because he is the greatest player in the game right now. But, I do think that, yesterday's or that game's actions, I should say, was a little bit babyish. So the Sid the Kid, cross out kid and put baby, maybe a little extreme, but hey, we're trying to build a following here on the Hockey Talk Show, okay? Sometimes you got to take those chances. But that being said, Sid's, I'm well aware that Sid's... so anyway, those thanks for calling me an idiot. I forget who did it, but thank you. I do appreciate that. Somebody else called me out and said, Sid the guy with 3 cups. It's all good. Like, that's what this show is about. I can't wait till we get to the live shows when you guys can call in and call me out on this stuff and we can have a fun little back and forth. That's what I want the Hockey Talk Show to be about. That's what it's going to be about. So really excited that, we made a couple of milestones on the podcast. We did a couple of milestones on Facebook, getting to followers really quickly. And we got to somebody calling me an idiot very quickly. So excited about all of that stuff. But heading into 87 versus 97, I'm excited. I can't wait. It's going to be a great matchup. In fact, my Islanders, who I'm a fan of, I used to work for them. They're going to be taking on Arizona in a game that I don't think anybody's going to be watching because 87's playing 97. To me, that's the game to watch tonight. Montreal's also playing. They got all their stuff to be worrying about. So there's it's going to be a lot of things spread around. But I think 87 versus 97 is going to be the game. And a couple interesting things. So Sid won the 2 games that they've already played. So he's got a little bit of that psychological edge going into that. Realize it doesn't mean all that much, but don't think that 97's not thinking about it going into the mix. What I do find really interesting is Connor McDavid, 7 games into the season, sits with 3 goals and 4 assists. He's got 7 points. Connor McDavid has 5 assists. 3 goals, 5 assists. He hasn't scored since the first game of the season where he had a hat trick. I find it to be a little bit interesting. Like, it's not that he's not producing points. He's had a fair amount of assists in his last bunch of games. In fact, he's only gone 2 games where he hasn't been on the score sheet, period. So it's not like Connor's not being creative, not dishing, not being offensive. But this guy is a scorer. He's a disher too. He's an all-around. He's the everything. But he's not really putting the puck in the net last couple of games. So I do find that to be a little bit interesting. I'm not saying he's never going to score again. I'm not saying he's slumping. He's playing. He's got 8 points in 7 games. He's doing just fine. But he hasn't scored since the first night. I thought that was interesting to note. I wonder if he's going to be gripping his stick a little bit tight, maybe thinking about that stuff. Certainly something to think about as you head into the game tonight. 87 versus 97. I think there's going to be a bunch of things to look at. I think it'll be really a battle between these two teams. Of course, if you go over to the standings, Edmonton not getting off to the start that they really wanted to. I'm very surprised. They're 2-5 right now. Not a good start for them. They need to get their act together a little bit. Pressure's going to be on them a little bit there. And Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is doing their Pittsburgh things. They're 5-3. They're sitting second in the Metro behind New Jersey, which is unbelievable. I thought New Jersey was going to be good, not this good. I think Edmonton is fighting for a little bit more here. They got a little bit more to prove. So they got to see some of their guys sort of step up a little bit outside of Connor McDavid and get it done. Edmonton's going to have a lot to handle. Malkin skating really. The whole Pittsburgh team is for the most part skating, pretty good. They look pretty good, Pittsburgh, so far this year. So I think that the Edmonton defense is going to have to be on their toes. I think Cam Talbot's going to have to be brilliant. And just checking Cam Talbot's year so far and how he's doing. 6 out of the 7 games he's played. And he's got a 2.95 goals against average. So not terrible, but not fantastic. It looks like they're just having a little bit of trouble scoring. Those quick numbers, 3 goals against, that means you're not scoring 4 to win the game with Connor McDavid on the team, and some of their other offensive weapons, Leon Draisaitl, so on and so forth. Is Draisaitl hurt? I don't believe so. You got to be putting the puck in the net a little bit better. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. What's Ryan Strome doing over there? Has he been in the lineup? I'm going to check our good pals over at dailyfaceoff.com. They do a phenomenal job at putting together daily line combinations. They're super on top of things. I want to make sure we plug them. And you guys check out dailyfaceoff.com. I'm going to find out what's going on with Ryan Strome. I really believe that was as even as a trade as you're going to get. But I do think that, the Islanders are going to come ahead on this deal. So Stromer's skating with Lucic and Nugent-Hopkins. Yamamoto's on a line with Maroon and McDavid. Draisaitl is playing third line. It's a little surprising. Is that just a combination thing? People sweat the lines a little bit too much. If your second and third line are playing the same, it's all about minutes. If your second and third line are playing the same minutes, it doesn't really make a difference. And Zach Kassian on the fourth line. I love Zach Kassian. I think he's a really good player. Larson, Clefbaum, Russell. They got a doable defense. It's not fantastic. Darnell Nurse all the way down on the last pairing. That's a little surprising to me. A little bit of a shock there. So Edmonton's got to pull out of it. I hope that Cam Talbot's the guy. I think he is. Three goals, 2.95. Not terrible. Not terrible. Should be doable with that offense and how great Connor McDavid is. Prediction, which I expect to be wrong most of the time. I think this will go to Sid. I think Sid will continue to dominate. And then we're going to start to get into an interesting place where if, if Connor can't beat Sid, we'll have to see what happens. I do think the interesting thing here is they're not going to play each other all that often, Edmonton and Pittsburgh. And I think that this little rivalry that obviously the NHL and the league want to build, much like Ovechkin and Crosby, is really going to get ignited if these two wind up going to the Stanley Cup final together. Now, as of right now, it looks like Pittsburgh has a better chance to be there, but I think most pundits would have picked Edmonton to get close to the finals, if not at least be in the Western Conference Finals. Certainly, they have a lot to go against with Anaheim and San Jose and everybody over there. But that's where this, that's the thing. That's the plus and minus of Sid versus Connor and Sid versus Ovi. We have a lot more Sid versus Ovi, but we'll never get it in the championship game if neither of them gets traded, which I don't foresee. But you have Sid versus Connor, and you can see these two in the Stanley Cup Finals, which certainly would be interesting. I know that definitely helped, Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers when it came time for them to take on the Islanders. That Stanley Cup rivalry there. That passing of the torch, if you will, that always ignited that feud a little bit. And I think really propelled Edmonton a little bit further because they were the ones who started taking down the Islanders. And then they took over the top of the mountain. And I think that just made their folklore that much bigger and better. So we'll see what happens with 87 versus 97. But certainly that's going to be the matchup for tonight. Spent a good amount of time on Anti Niemi on the last show. He was put on waivers by Pittsburgh. I called out Mike Sullivan. Didn't seem like he really knew what was going on, or he either knew and had a terrible poker face and didn't want to reveal it. Moot point at this point, as Florida claims Anti Niemi off of waivers from Pittsburgh, which is pretty interesting because Niemi stinks right now. He's obviously a Stanley Cup winning goaltender. He's a veteran. In Florida, you lose Roberto Luongo. Although they say he's day-to-day, the fact that they picked up a goaltender seems to me like it could be a little bit longer than that. But don't read too much into that, too, because you pick up a guy off of waivers and, you have the cap space to put him on, great. If you have the ownership who's willing to pay him, great. If Luongo comes back and then they got to bury him in the minors or whatever the case is, who cares, really? So that's the one part of it. But on the other hand, Niemi kind of stinks right now, but Dale Talon is also a genius. Let's not forget that Dale Talon, was the GM back in Chicago when Niemi was there, and he put together all those teams. So they do have a little bit of a link there. Maybe the confidence in Dale Talon showing in Anti Niemi sparks him a little bit. Will Niemi get to play? That's another question that I have, because James Reimer, I think, did really good on their last outing. Reimer hasn't been all that terrible, hasn't been wonderful, but Reimer's got a 3.14 goals against average so far in this young season. He started 3 games. He came into relief for one of the games, and he's got a 2-2 record as of right now. But he's not doing terrible as we sit early on here in this 2017 season. But I do find the Anti Niemi pickup a little bit interesting. Again, I trust in Dale Talon. I think he's one of the great general managers of all time. He really built that Chicago Stanley Cup team. It's unfortunate that he wasn't there to kind of see that whole thing through. But Taves and Kane and everybody he put together there, Keith, those are all his guys, and then he goes to Florida. He does really well. He gets pushed aside for some reason, which I never really figured out. We might have to delve into that one day, Panthers fans. And now he's back in the position where he should be as general manager of the Florida Panthers. And I'm curious to see where he can take that team moving forward. I think he'll do really well down in Florida. Looking at their start early on here, 3-4, not great, but Florida's going to be one of those bubble teams that you're going to have to wait and see. But he certainly built a lot of talent. It stunk that they had to let Marchessault go, but that is what it is. But going back to the Niemi thing, to stay on topic, I trust in Dale Talon. If I think, you think to yourself, why would anybody touch Anti Niemi? And then Dale Talon picks him up and you're like, okay, there's some history there. Maybe he can spark some confidence into Anti Niemi. And we'll see. He's under no big obligation. It's a $700,000. It's a manageable cap hit. It's a temporary fix for Roberto Luongo being out. Not too much of a chance to lose there. It's sort of an easy, no-brainer, win-win situation. for the Florida Panthers. I had a comment here from Dale Talon. It was pretty much, here it is. Anti is a proven veteran who further stabilizes our organization's goaltending depth. We're happy to welcome him to South Florida. Pretty basic, pretty like, we got a goaltender on IR. That's why he's here. Speaking of IR, Zach Parise, we talked about this yesterday. The speculation that he's going to go on IR for back surgery. He is. He will be out 8 to 10 weeks from every account. It looks like he has done well with the surgery that was done and decided on pretty quickly. So that's going to be tough for Minnesota, who is struggling so far out of the gate. And I mean struggling because there was some high expectations in Minnesota. Patrick Eaves of the Ducks was hospitalized with an immune system disorder. A lot of hubbub about this in the National Hockey League. They believe he has this Guillain-Barré syndrome, which attacks where the body's immune system attacks the peripheral nervous system. Sounds terrible. Apparently, he had a little bit of a rough spot over the weekend. He's out of ICU. They believe he's going to recover fully. Fingers crossed that he does that. I hope he is able to get through that pretty quickly. Want to quickly get into the 10-game rule. We talked about this on the last show as well. Teams facing decisions on some of their young players. Let's start with New Jersey. They are in an unbelievable start. It's not just Nico Hischier, who is the first pick. You expect great things from him. Jesper Bratt, has done a phenomenal job in the Devils lineup. I mean, you look at these guys and they've had some great pickups. They're not going to be sending any of these guys down whatsoever. These guys are going to be in it for the long haul. And I certainly think they deserve it over there in New Jersey. Moving over a little bit, Alex DeBrincat with the Blackhawks. We expect him to stay up. 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists in 9 games. Those are good numbers for a young player. Pierre-Luc Dubois in Columbus. He's got 1 goal in 18 games. He's averaging 12:31 of ice time. I think he will go down. I thought he had a good chance to stay up. It looks like he's going to be going down. Clayton Keller over in Arizona. He's been the bright spots for the Arizona Coyotes so far. 6 goals, 2 assists in 8 games. Coyotes at the time of the Hockey Talk show here still haven't won a game. They take on the Islanders. We'll see what happens there. I'm hoping the Isles can pull out a win, but it's not good for Arizona. I think they're going to have a big axe to grind as they head into this game against the Isles tonight. Victor Mete over in Montreal is staying. He has been pretty good with Shea Weber. I think that's a comfortable combination. He can move the puck. He's small, but he's, Montreal is struggling. They need the help on defense. They can't send this young guy down. I like the Nolan Patrick story a lot because 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists in 8 games, not a whole ton, but he's playing on the third line. I kind of like that. Gives offensive upside to your third line, takes a lot of pressure off of him, lets him watch the games, not as many minutes as if he was playing a top position like Nico Hischier is doing with the Devils. Patrick was right behind Nico in the draft. I think that he's going to stay. Ron Hextall especially is a general manager who believes if you make the team out of camp, you're on the team. He doesn't really believe in the 10-game rule, so he's going to stick around. Let's talk about Mikhail Sergachev. This guy has been brilliant. 3 goals, 5 assists, part of the huge start for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have been on fire to start the season. I think they are by far the leading candidate to come out of the East. I think that they are going to be, I shouldn't say out of the East, out of the Atlantic. I think if you're talking about Pittsburgh and Tampa and the Eastern Conference Finals, nobody's going to be shocked if that winds up happening. The numbers on the Tampa Bay Lightning are beyond ridiculous. If you take a look, all right, take a look at this. Take a look at NHL.com, okay? Here's the page. Look at your leaders. Kucherov leads in points. Stamkos leads in points. Kucherov leads in goals. And assist is also Steven Stamkos. If you look down the list, I mean, there's a lot. They're dominating. Tampa Bay Lightning dominating the statistics right now. Completely dominating. And Sergachev certainly is a part of that. So I think that this young man is going to continue to stay there as well. which brings me to my final point of the evening, and that's we know the NHL has gone to a younger game. We know they've been saying that for quite some time. Look, the league's younger, faster. I think we're finally starting to see the benefits of younger and faster. We're finally getting it. Here they are, younger and faster, and, you know, in 9 games, Kucherov has 10 goals. Ovechkin's got 10 goals. Austin Matthews has 7. Logan Couture has 7. All right, a little bit of an older statesman there. Jaden Schwartz is off to a spectacular start in St. Louis. Evander Kane doing really well up there in Buffalo. Career year for Evander Kane. Be careful. Players always play better in career years. He hasn't been good every other year. That's kind of stuff makes me worry. Stamkos with 18 assists. Kucherov with 16 assists. Jaden Schwartz with 13, Austin Matthews with 12, Kuznetsov with 12, Backstrom with 12. So certainly Washington and Tampa and Toronto making themselves known. You take a look at the league leaders. Obviously, the East has a bit more scoring than the West right now. That's pretty obvious. But certainly the West is well represented farther down the list with Kopitar and Philip Forsberg. But my point is this, the league wanted to be younger, they wanted to be faster, and now they have it. I'm not exactly sure if scoring is up. I'm sure we'll wind up getting those reports, but it feels like scoring is up, you know, and that may be more important than the actual statistics. You know, stats are one thing, feel is another, and feel is really important. And I want to really make this point to close out the Hockey Talk show for today. Feel is a big deal. If people feel, if the game feels more exciting, then it is more exciting. It doesn't matter if goals are up 0.5 a game or a goal a game or 2.5 goals a game. It's insignificant because those percentage points are going to be small anyway. But if it feels like these games are more exciting, we saw a bunch of 6-goal games, 7-goal games already this year, 10 goals in 7-8 games for your leading goal scorer, 9 games. You know, if it feels more exciting, it'll be more exciting. So I think this is really where the league wanted to be. And I think that they're finally here. And I hope as a hockey fan, you're enjoying it because I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I think not only are we seeing a lot of goals, we're seeing some really creative and great goals. Quick hit here today. We're back again tomorrow with another show. We're trying to do 5 days a week, occasionally on the weekends if we can. And we are going to go live really soon. HockeyTalkShow.com has all the info. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and YouTube as well. And if you're listening on podcasts, which I know a bunch of you are, don't just subscribe. Thanks for doing that. But don't just subscribe. Try and rate and review it if you can, because that's how we will get a little bit higher up in the search ranks. I'm your old pal Ant, and I'll see you on the next shift.